You're holding your baby. Maybe you're feeding them. Maybe you're just sitting quietly. Maybe you're exhausted and running on 3 hours of sleep, and the day feels like it has no end in sight. And then it happens. Their tiny hand reaches out, wraps around your finger, and holds on. No crying, no fussing, no kicking, just a quiet, deliberate grip. Most parents smile and move on. They file it under cute baby things and go back to whatever they were doing. But if you truly understood what is happening inside your baby's brain during that exact moment, what that grip actually means, where it comes from, and what it is telling you, you would never look at that little hand the same way again. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, that simple gesture is going to mean something completely different to you, something that will stay with you for the rest of your life as a parent. Welcome to Silent Baby Mind. Subscribe right now, because what you're about to learn today will permanently change the way you look at your child. Let's get into it. 1. Your baby is communicating with you, and they've been doing it since before they had a single word. Parents spend a lot of time waiting for the first word, the first mama, the first dada, the moment language finally arrives and things start to make sense. There is something about spoken language that feels like a threshold, like the moment your child crosses it, real communication can finally begin. But here's what the science tells us, and what most parenting books still don't emphasize enough. Your baby has been talking to you since the very first days of their life, not with words, with their body. That hand reaching out and grabbing your finger is not a reflex in the way we used to think. For decades, scientists categorized infant grasping as a purely involuntary response, a primitive reflex left over from our evolutionary past when baby primates needed to cling to their mothers to survive in the trees. And yes, there is a reflex component, particularly in the newborn stage. But modern developmental neuroscience has revealed something far more layered and remarkable than simple reflex. As early as 6 to 8 weeks of life, babies begin to modify and control that grasp based on who is holding them. They grip differently with strangers than they do with their primary caregiver. They hold longer, they hold tighter, and they reach more deliberately toward the people whose smell, voice, and presence they have come to associate with safety and warmth. Think about what that means. Your baby is not just reacting to a stimulus. They are making a distinction. They are recognizing you specifically in a crowd of sensory input, and they are responding to you differently than they respond to anyone else. They are choosing, and you are the one they are choosing every single time. Researchers in infant cognition have documented that by 3 months of age, babies begin using physical touch, reaching, grasping, pressing their palm flat against a caregiver's chest, as a form of intentional communication. They are, in their own pre-verbal way, sending a message. And what that message says, translated into the language we will spend the next few years teaching them, is, I know you. You are the one who matters most. I feel different when you are near. 2. That grip is the oldest language in the world. Long before human beings developed spoken language, long before we had symbols or writing or any of the sophisticated tools we now associate with communication, we had touch. Developmental psychologists call this the first channel of human connection, and it is the channel your baby was born fluent in. Not learning, fluent, from the very beginning. When your baby presses their palm against your skin, something remarkable happens, and it happens on both sides of that touch simultaneously. In your baby's brain, physical contact with a trusted caregiver triggers the release of oxytocin, the hormone most closely associated with bonding, emotional security, and the feeling of being loved. Their heart rate slows. Their cortisol levels, the biological marker of stress in the body, drop measurably within minutes. Their nervous system shifts from a state of high alert into a state of genuine calm. All of that from a touch, from your touch specifically. But here's the part that most parents never hear, and it is the part that tends to change everything. Your baby is not just receiving comfort through that touch, they are also sending it. Studies measuring skin-to-skin contact between infants and caregivers have found that the act of a baby grasping a parent's finger, resting their hand on a parent's chest, or pressing their cheek against a parent's skin actually synchronizes their heartbeats over time. Their rhythms begin to align. Their breathing starts to match. In the most literal physiological sense, your baby is not just reaching for you. They are reaching into you, pulling you both into the same biological state, the same rhythm, the same moment of shared calm. This is not metaphor. This is not poetic language designed to make you feel good about parenting. This is measurable, documented, reproducible science that shows up consistently across cultures, across demographics, across every environment where researchers have thought to look for it. Your baby reaches for your hand because on some level that exists far below conscious thought, they already know that touching you makes the world feel less overwhelming, less loud, less uncertain. And they are right, because it does. 3. They are checking if you are still there. Have you ever been dozing on the couch with your baby resting on your chest, completely still, and suddenly felt a tiny hand pat your face? Or a small fist press into your collarbone with surprising persistence over and over until you shifted or made a sound or opened your eyes? You probably thought they were just fidgeting. You might have assumed they wanted to be fed or moved or that something was bothering them. What if I told you that your baby, in that moment, was doing something far more deliberate than any of those things? Infants, even very young ones, are exquisitely attuned to the biological rhythms of their caregivers. From the first weeks of life, babies begin building what researchers call an internal expectation model, a kind of template held in the nervous system, not the conscious mind, of how their primary caregiver moves, breathes, sounds, and feels under their hands. They don't build this deliberately. They don't decide to pay attention, but they do it constantly, through every minute of every interaction, quietly cataloging what normal feels like when it comes to you. And when something in that template changes, when you go still, when your breathing slows dramatically, when the familiar rhythm of your body becomes quiet and unfamiliar, your baby notices. Not because they are watching you, because they are feeling you. And what they feel tells them something is different, something they do not have a word for yet, but that their body understands completely. You are not moving the way you usually move. You are not here the same way you usually are. And that matters. That little hand pressing into your chest is, in the most precise scientific sense of the phrase, a wellness check. Your baby is feeling for the rise and fall of your breathing. They are searching for movement. They are looking for confirmation that their person, the one fixed point in a world that is otherwise completely overwhelming and new, is still there and still okay. And when you shift, when you sigh, when you open your eyes and look at them, you can almost see the release in their body. The tension that had been building in those tiny muscles lets go because you answered them, because they found you. 4. They learned this before they ever took their first breath. Here is the part of this story that tends to stop parents completely. The part that, when they really sit with it, changes not just how they see their baby, but how they understand the entire arc of who their child already is. The reason your baby reaches for you the way they do, the reason touch is so deeply and permanently wired into their experience of safety and love, begins before they were born. In the womb, babies begin experiencing touch at around 8 weeks of gestation. By 14 weeks, they are touching their own faces with their hands. By the third trimester, they are reaching toward the walls of the womb, pressing their palms outward, responding to external pressure through the skin of the abdomen, feeling the shape of the world around them. Touch is not one of several senses your baby developed before birth. It is the first. It is the one that came before all the others, and it is the one that carried the most information about what the world was and whether it was safe. When your baby is born and placed on your chest for the first time, they are not experiencing something new. They are experiencing something they already know: the warmth of a body pressed against them, the vibration of a heartbeat beneath them, the steady, rhythmic rise and fall of breathing. These are not foreign sensations. They are the sensations that define the entire landscape of their existence for 9 months. They are home. And you, the one holding them now, the one whose voice they already know from the inside of the world, you become the continuation of that first experience of what it means to be safe. This is why skin-to-skin contact in the first hours and days of life has such measurable and lasting impact on infant brain development. This is why babies who receive consistent, responsive physical touch in the early months show differences not just in emotional well-being, but in cortisol regulation, immune function, and even cognitive development that researchers can still measure years later. When your baby reaches for your hand, they are not doing something they just learned. They are doing something their nervous system has been practicing since before the world outside the womb existed for them. You are not a new thing they are learning to love. You are the thing they have always known. 5. They reach for you when they sense you are about to leave. If you have ever been sitting quietly with your baby, felt them settle into you with that particular kind of heavy relaxation that only deeply calm babies achieve, and then watch their body suddenly tighten, arms reaching, fingers spreading, a small sound beginning in their throat, right at the exact moment you shifted your weight or leaned forward to stand, you have witnessed something worth pausing for. Your baby knew you were about to move, before you fully moved, and they reached for you. This is not coincidence, and it is not random. Infants are, by every measurable standard, extraordinary readers of human physical state, far more capable than we have historically given them credit for. They track your movement patterns, your postural shifts, the minute changes in your breathing and muscle tension that precede motion. Research in infant perception has shown that babies as young as 4 to 5 months can distinguish between a caregiver who is about to lift them and one who is simply leaning forward without that intention. They are reading signals in your body that most adults could not consciously identify. And when those signals tell them you are leaving, when the pattern recognition that has been quietly running in their nervous system since the beginning of their life registers the pre-movement cues that have always preceded your absence, they reach, they grasp, they hold on. Not because they are being manipulative or clingy or difficult, words that get applied to infant behavior with a casualness that does not reflect what the research actually shows, but because they are doing something that is, by any honest assessment, emotionally and cognitively sophisticated. They are anticipating, they are feeling, and they are acting on what they feel by reaching toward the one thing that, in their entire experience of the world so far, has always made the feeling of uncertainty go away. You. Do not underestimate this. The ability to read an impending change in the environment, to form an emotional response to it, and to take a directed social action in response is not simple behavior. It is not reflexive behavior. It is behavior that requires pattern recognition, emotional processing, and intentional communication, all happening in a brain that is less than a year old and still forming connections at a rate that will never be matched again in that person's lifetime. Your baby is not randomly grabbing. They are asking, and they are asking you. 6. They are telling you they trust you with everything they are. I told you at the beginning of this video that there was something behind that small hand reaching for yours that would change the way you see your child forever. This is it, and I want you to really hear it. A baby's entire existence is defined by vulnerability. They cannot feed themselves, move themselves, regulate their own temperature, protect themselves from any threat, or communicate their needs in a language that does not require you to already understand them. They are dependent in a way that no other stage of human life replicates, and dependence for any living thing carries the potential for profound fear unless it is paired with something that makes the vulnerability bearable, unless it is paired with trust. When your baby reaches for your hand and holds on, when they press their palm flat against your chest and let their whole body go soft against you, they are not just seeking comfort in the way we sometimes talk about it, as though it were something simple and automatic. They are demonstrating something that their nervous system has been quietly building through every single interaction you have shared since the beginning of their life. Through every feeding, every diaper change, every time you came when they cried, every time you held them when the world was too loud and too bright and too much. They are demonstrating trust, not blind trust, earned trust, specific, relational, carefully built trust in you. That is what you have made. That is what that small hand is holding. Secure attachment, the term developmental psychologists use for this bond, is not merely emotionally meaningful in the moment. It is neurologically formative in ways that shape the entire trajectory of a human life. Babies who develop secure attachment in the first year show measurable differences in brain architecture that researchers can still detect in adulthood. They regulate stress more effectively in the face of difficulty. They form healthier, more stable relationships throughout their lives. They are more resilient, more curious, more capable of trust. And all of it begins here. In these quiet, ordinary moments, with a small hand wrapped around your finger, holding on in the dark. Every time your baby reaches for you, they are telling you something they will not have words for years. They are saying, "You are the safest thing in my world." That being close to you is the only thing that makes this enormous, overwhelming, endlessly new world feel possible to be in. That of all the sensations they have experienced, and for a baby, every sensation is new. This one, the feeling of your skin, your warmth, the sound of your voice, and heartbeat beneath their ear. This is the one that means everything is going to be okay. Now you know exactly what to do when that little hand reaches for yours again. You hold still. You let them have that moment completely. And you understand, maybe for the first time with the full weight of what it means, just how much your baby already loves you. If this changed the way you see your child, share this video with a parent who needs to hear it. Hit the like button if this moved you. It helps more parents find this content. And leave a comment below telling us, what does your baby do that you now see completely differently? We read every single one, and we love hearing from you. Don't forget to subscribe to Silent Baby Mind so you never miss a video. See you in the next one.